I'm Chad Ruthermond.
And I'm Andy Kinnick.
And welcome to NOCLIP Pocket, because technically the Sega Nomad plays console games. Today, we're going to be talking about Monument Valley, which was developed by Us2 Games and was released in 2014. Monument Valley is a puzzle game, and it's just on phones, which I think counts for NOCLIP Pocket.
It definitely counts.
So, this game kind of, when it released 2014, it was not like a great time for mobile phone games. Like, for the most part, people thought that phone games were for babies, or like the casualiest of casual games were released on phones. And therefore, when Monument Valley released, get kind of a lot of press for trying to do something a little bit more on the platform. But I don't think that I played it at the time. I think that the first time that I played this game was in, like, 2016.
Yeah, I don't know how long it had been out when I played it, but Janelle told me about it. And I just decided to play it based on her description.
Mm-hmm. Because, of course, you were told about it because the thing that most people know about Monument Valley, and like the first thing that people like to talk about, is its use of unusual geometry, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
It was the game's creators have said that they were inspired by other games. Like, they bring up like Fez's art style, as well as I think the word, like, some of the that video game company games, like Flower, which I can kind of see, like the colors present, like the very cubic design,
right?
But the common ancestor that everyone likes to talk about, of course, is MC Escher and his use of impossible objects.
Yeah, and if you look through, and I know you have a coffee table book full of his drawings, there are specifically drawings that this game references, like the kind of like architecture, like the little buildings, the little diorama-like buildings are straight out of his drawings.
Yeah, and not only that, but like among the most famous of MC Escher's works are, of course, the Never-Ending Staircase. Mm-hmm. And like no individual piece of architecture is more common in Monument Valley than staircases. Like, they're just everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And bridges.
Yeah. And just anything that you can like look at from a different perspective in order to move around. So I have a question for you that I don't actually know the answer to, which is, did you play through the like other stuff in this game beyond the original story?
I played through Ida's Dream.
Okay.
I think that's her name, right?
Yeah, it's Princess Ida.
Yeah, because that was free. Mm-hmm. I did not play the paid content or the sequel.
Right. So I've also not played the sequel, but I did play Forgotten Shores, which I didn't have to pay for, which means that I probably paid for it like a couple years ago and just never got around to it. So, to tie that in with the base game itself, I feel like a lot of the original discussion around this game dealt with the fact that the base game, like the first, was it like 10?
I think it's 10.
10 worlds, don't really fully flesh out what this game can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like the extra stuff, and we can use that as Dream as a touch point, because I think that it did a similar thing, but it really expands and makes this game go kind of, not off the rails, obviously, like it's still manageable. It's definitely not the most difficult game as a puzzle game, but really lets it breathe with its mechanics, whereas the first 10 levels just seem to be introducing new stuff all the time.
Yeah, the Ida's Dream, I don't know if you want to call it an expansion or whatever. Right. Definitely amps it up. Whereas, like, I breezed through the first 10 levels, and then I still played Ida's Dream all at once as well, but it took me considerably longer on each level on those.
Oh, yeah. So, let's talk about those, like, because the base mechanics of this game are not complicated. It's more in, like, the puzzle design, I guess.
It's just understanding how the mechanics actually work and how your character interacts with them.
Right. So, there's this element that's introduced that's later, whether it's in the expansions or it might occur real late in the original game. I kind of don't remember. But the idea of, like, when you're, instead of walking on, like, what is clearly the top level of the thing that you're looking at, it inverts it so that you're walking on, like, the inside. And what it's trying to do is mirror that, like, inside of a cube versus outside of a room illusion. But actually changes the way that you walk around. But other than that, for the most part, this entire game is just moving from one point to another and occasionally rotating things. And the amount that they're able to do with that, I think, is actually really impressive.
Definitely.
Okay, so you were talking about sort of the, like, diorama design of levels. And, like, every level in this game is basically just, like, takes place on a small cube floating in space and has, like, all of these. Occasionally there will be, like, a background element or whatever you can move between things, but it's not super common.
They actually feel like they could exist. They're very well designed, and they feel very much like they have, like, a real kind of sense of place to them. Like they could be, like, a real music box that you might own or something.
Like, it's something that they have, like, a physicality to them, I guess.
Yeah, and they feel handcrafted. Like, there's the little the way that they're designed, where, like, everything that turns has, like, the dots on it, and it all feels very, like, well considered, and, like, it might be an actual thing that, like, rotates around if you could actually pick it up.
Right. The like, there's a puzzle box level in the main series, and they revisit the concept later in Forgotten Shores. There's a level called Weeblet, which my French is not great, so that pronunciation might be incorrect, but yeah, that one that idea is fascinating to me, because while that level is probably one of the easier ones in the game, because it's sort of just a do everything that you can and it will just slowly unfold, it has this, like, wonderful visual element to it of the thing actually, like, unfolding and being created that I really enjoyed. What did you think about, like, the overall sort of, like, challenge of this game?
Well, the first time I played it, I remember getting stuck at some point, and this is kind of like a different tangent, but I'll come back to this, I promise.
Okay.
But and it made me think about, like, even, like, not that long ago, like, how much less attention I think I paid to games while I was playing them, because like, there's a pretty clear visual language established in this game, like I said, with, like, the dots on the things you can rotate, and, like, everything you can interact with and move is pretty clearly signposted. And I think I just didn't, like, pay attention to that. Like, I just was like, oh, a mobile game, I'll just pick it up and blow through it.
Right.
And then I ended up getting stuck because I wasn't paying enough attention to it. But this time, though, it was very easy. I thought, like, there were some parts where, like I said, the challenge comes from, like, oh, I didn't know I could do that, you know?
Right.
Rather than actually being challenging in the way it's supposed to, I think. Or maybe that is the way it's supposed to be challenging. It's debatable. But I did think that the Ida's Dream levels were, like, right about the difficulty level I would have wanted from the game.
Yeah, and that kind of carries over into the Forgotten Shores expansion as well. The reason that I bring it up is because while playing through the main game, I kind of got the impression that the design goals, like, visually, were so, like, lofty that maybe it was just so difficult to design each individual level that making a complex puzzle was basically impossible.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well because I always thought doing an MC Escher like style space in like a Zelda dungeon would be a really cool idea, like one of my little daydream things I've thought about before, but it just seems so difficult to design something like that. And I imagine that was a problem when doing a puzzle game. You had to make some of these like impossible objects like out of an MCS or drawing and then actually make them navigatable and something you can solve a puzzle in.
Yeah. So not only does it have to be navigable, but you have to be able to, like, when you are creating it, you have to say, like, what's the puzzle here? And then somehow reverse engineer a design out of that. And that just sounds like, regardless of how difficult this game ends up being, which is, not all that difficult, I have, there's nothing in the world that could convince me that I would be able to conceptualize a puzzle. Because even when you're solving puzzles in this game, you're often not thinking about them, step by step, like you would in another game. Like, if you're playing, what's another puzzle game? The one that
Braid?
I'm thinking about right now is The Bridge, which we'll bring up later.
Yeah, right.
But for different reasons. What did you say?
I said Braid.
Okay. So, in Braid, you think linearly and logically about the things that you're doing. Like, I need to get from here to there, and I know that this guy's patrolling, so if I, jump here and then rewind time and then use my ghost to do, and all of that stuff. Whereas in this game, you're sort of just like, how did I end up here? And it's like, well, about that. You rotated the thing over here so that you could bridge between these two things, but for the most part, what you do is you just try stuff, and oftentimes you'll end up just solving it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had that. It gave me the kind of a feeling that another mobile game gave me that I played a lot, way back in the day when I first got an iPhone, which is called Unblock Me.
Okay.
There's a board with a bunch of blocks and one red one, and you had to slide them around to get the red block out.
Sure.
And like you were describing, you don't think ahead all the moves that it would take to get out. Well, you could do it that way,
right?
But you just kind of move them around, and you kind of start to get a feel for the patterns until you just eventually get it, and you get kind of into a weird Zen flow state where you're just kind of going with it. And that's kind of how this game ended up being a lot for me. There was one of the Ida's Dream levels that was fairly complicated. You had to it was an exterior of a building, I think, is kind of what it looked like aesthetically, and you had to go all the way around it a million times to get around to this one spot to get to the door.
Right.
And that's how that level really ended up playing out, whereas I was just constantly moving around and playing around with different things.
Is this a level where there's there's a pattern on the floor and that allowed you to rotate a thing and you collapsed and regrew the...
No, not that one.
Okay.
That one was cool. This one had a little path up on the roof that you needed to you started out just on a ledge, and you needed to get up and rotate a thing to get around to the outside to where you could get up on the roof, and then you had to keep spinning it around to get around to the backside and around.
Right. Okay, I remember this one now. Yeah, so that is a good example. But like I said, a lot of the levels in this game are good examples of ones that if you just do some stuff, eventually you're going to get to the solution. And that's always there are very few wrinkles thrown in the game. There's the annoying birds, or what I forget what they call them. And level 5 is just referred to as in the land of annoying birds,
right?
Or something. In the land of petulant crows.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it is just because it's just traversal. I imagine this game would, and this is kind of a weird concept, I have no proof that this is true, but I am under the impression that if you were playing this game with a controller, it would actually be harder, because you can't just sort of poke at an area and if you can get there, Ida will just walk to it. Mm-hmm. The controller would force you to sort of have to choose to move to one place, and there are things like, because that gets over a lot of the I can't really see the path things.
Right. Yeah. This is definitely a really like, well, the design of the game considers the platform very well. Like, it's a very good touchscreen game.
Yeah.
But are you suggesting that it would be better with a controller?
I think it would be slightly more difficult, but it wouldn't be in like a puzzling way.
Okay, I got
yeah,
it.
You would just be less likely to accidentally solve a puzzle.
Right.
Because I don't think this game could function with a controller, given the number of things that you have to like move.
Right.
Like I don't even know how that would work. Like, you have to like select items and then move them with
Maybe,
the control stick.
like you have to like hold down a shoulder button to then highlight the different sections that you can move, and then pick it and I don't know.
Yeah, it would be
a nightmare.
Yes, it would be Ida's nightmare.
Yes. Can I give a shout out to a specific level?
Yeah.
I don't remember what it's called, but once again, it's one of the Ida's Dream levels where you're just on a shape. There's just two shapes drawn in space.
Oh, man. Yes.
That's the best level.
That one 100% is the...
It's very hard to describe. There's like a rhombus and then like an L-shaped shape.
Right.
I don't know what to call it. But and you rotate them in space, which is kind of hard to visualize. It's like they're plastered on the outside of a big cube that you're rotating, I guess, that you can't see.
Yeah, it's like an invisible cube that has like parts of its of the outline of it are like lit up, and those are the things that you can walk on.
Yeah, so you have to like rotate them in such a way that they'll line up in different ways and allow you to walk to different spots to get up and out.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was like kind of genius, and I don't actually know how they pulled it off with the engine. Like, I assume it was just a visual trick with like the lines outlining one, like the foreground part of a path. But like, if they could have, I feel like that mechanic, which it was used sort of as a gimmick here, but if it was further expanded on, like, there could be a challenge level with that would be just absolutely mind destroying.
Yeah. No, yeah, and it's even more impressive that they managed to make it a challenging puzzle with only two shapes to traverse.
Yeah, and and that's one that's actually like not actually a puzzle, like, to discount the rest of the things, but it functions more like a regular puzzle, because if you just walk around, you won't get anywhere.
You just go in a circle.
Yeah, you have to figure out. Yeah. You had me walking around in rhombuses over here. But yeah, you have to actually figure out what the path forward is. And I think that's why that level is so successful. Moving on. Do you think that this game has a story?
A story? Not really. It's got like a loose old school video game, like, kind of semblance of a narrative.
Then, okay, good. Because I also did not pick it. Like, it seemed like a Journey type impressionistic thing where you want to get like an idea of what you're doing. But even Journey has a more concrete plot than this game does.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a dream or some kind of surrealist, like, girl stuck in a weird abstract space. Like, I mean, what kind of narrative really is there?
Well, I've been told that the sequel actually does have a plot, which made me think, oh shit, like, did I just completely miss something? Because there are like characters.
Yeah, it kind of gave me like an epistory vibe. Like, maybe this is all like some kind of like escapist daydream of somebody
like in
who
the
might,
real world.
Yeah, or some. That's the most I could probably pull out of it.
Right, some kind of like allegorical art student went into a coma.
Yeah, and then also there's the companion cube Tetris man.
Yeah, the companion Tetronimo.
Yeah.
There's also that one, like, there's another character who's just like, I interpret it as being like a tall woman, but I don't know. It's just like another figure.
Is that in the DLC?
No,
I don't
there's
remember
statues
that.
of her in the
Okay.
DLC, but there's a level where you go into a little room, and it's just a simple room that has like 2 platforms on either side, and a long path in between, and you just rotate it to connect them.
Okay.
And then you go up top, and then you talk to this like white spiritual figure.
Okay.
And they tell you something that I don't remember. Because it was some cryptic dialogue in a puzzle game, and I didn't really know why it was there. But that appears to just be, like, the interpretation of this game. Like, the Wikipedia article for this game doesn't have a plot synopsis.
Right.
Though apparently they're making a movie.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So that's the I don't want to say this as a negative, really. I didn't come into Monument Valley expecting it to have, like, an engaging story. It was more just a visual thing. But you do kind of get an attachment to your little cube buddy.
Right.
Who does nothing. He's just a platform that you can move.
Yeah, but he's useful to you.
Yeah, and he has an eyeball painted on him, so he is personified.
Right.
And then also your character is is also a bird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's like your character model and the bird character models are made up of the same pieces. They just like move the beak up around to a hat,
right,
and vice versa.
And to the aforementioned hilarious dunce cap that you wear.
Which is something I picked up on while playing the game. Well, I don't know whether or not I was supposed to.
I definitely didn't, but I'm also notoriously unobservant when it comes to finer details like that. Or, like, less fine, chunkier details. Or any details at all. So, it doesn't really surprise me that I didn't pick up on it. It is a cool little moment at the end where the birds all flap and fly away, and then you... Queen of the Birds. I don't know.
Queen of the Birds. Pigeon Man.
Pigeon, yeah. Oh, yeah, okay, so this is kind of the one last thing that I had. It's not, now that I'm thinking about it. There's at least 1 or 2 other things that I can mention. But the sound design in this game is also actually really... Like, it's super clean.
Yeah, I always forget to mention sound design.
Yeah, this one, because... While I'm unlikely to play like a portable console game with sound on, I'm way more likely to listen to the sound in a mobile game because I just usually already have my headphones in.
Yeah. It drives me crazy not to have sound when I'm playing a game. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a better reaction though. I thought you might just be like, it drives me crazy that you don't listen to the fucking sound.
Oh, no, I just... And it's fairly common not to listen to the music on a handheld.
Right.
But anyway, it's just weird to me.
But yeah, it's like, and I think this is sort of like in the phone game space. This is kind of like the way you do sound design, but it's just, there isn't much in terms of like background music. There's very rarely music at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just sort of like very minimal.
Yeah, it's non-intrusive.
Yeah.
Or unintrusive. Whichever is correct.
Yeah.
No, yeah. It's got a nice... I think the sound actually adds to that handcrafted feeling you get.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about earlier, because when you crank the little cranks, yes. They make kind of like a toy-like Jack-in-the-Box kind of sound almost. Or that's not the right word, not Jack-in-the-Box, but like you know what I mean.
I think no, it's a Jack-in-the-Box, you're right.
Yeah, like Pop Goes the Weasel. It has that kind of cadence to the way the sound goes.
Right. And you also get the same sort of oh man, I was gonna attribute an instrument to this, but it is just like, I don't know, like a harpsichord maybe, that kind of a sound when you like rotate things as well. Like it has these yeah, like you said, toy-like sort of sounds, and it's very, I don't know, it works really well, especially the way that they play with tone, sort of, so that you can, like, tell when you're going one direction or another, and, like, when it's finished its cycle and is starting a new one. It's really well considered.
It almost kind of reminds me of the way they use sound effects in The Wind Waker. It's in other Zelda games, but it's like the most pronounced in that one, like where you do the 3-hit combo and the music escalates.
Yep.
It has that kind of feel to it to me.
I can definitely see that and agree. I don't know if I had much more. I did want to briefly compare this game with The Bridge, which I know that you've played, but
only a little.
Yeah, but it's The Bridge is just a different puzzle game that also uses like the non-traditional geometry to like make itself work, but it does it in a very different way because you're usually you're usually looking at it from a fixed perspective, so the impossible objects sort of like retain their impossibility as opposed to the way that they kind of break apart in Monument Valley. And basically this makes the game like hard as balls as opposed to Monument Valley, which sort of is more about the traversal. The Bridge is less like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it feels like a difference in approach to the core design. Like Monument Valley feels like it's supposed to be a more casual experience, and The Bridge feels like it's supposed to be ball-bustingly difficult. Yeah, because like The Bridge is incredibly hard and intimidating.
Oh yeah, because it's a puzzle game where you cannot really experiment with what's going on. You just sort of have to like look at it and determine what to do, or else you have to start over.
Yeah, it's like you can't bring your real world knowledge in to help you solve the puzzles. You're basically just learning as you go, like how these things operate, which makes it a lot slower and makes you feel kind of stupid.
Yeah, and, and because of that, I actually do think that Monument Valley ends up being like a much more successful game than The Bridge does. Is rather, just because like it just feels more accessible. It has more of an artistic vibe to it, even though the Bridge may be a more true representation of that like Escherian. I may have made that word up.
I like it.
Like impossible object, like working with that as its basis. Monument Valley you get more visually out of it because it is more dynamic. You can like move shit around. I do like both games though.
Yeah, and you don't get any of that satisfaction of like lining up the forced perspective to like that you get in Monument Valley, which is kind of like the moment to moment like satisfaction of it.
100%, yeah. You got anything else?
I think that's about it.
All right. Thank you for listening to NOCLIP Pocket this week.
What are we talking about next time?
Next time, we're actually going to continue with the mobile game thing, or the Wii U if you're into that.
If you can fit it in your pocket.
Yeah, if you can fit the Wii... You're allowed to play this next game on the Wii U if you can fit a gamepad in your pocket. So, congratulations all JNCO jeans owners out there. But we're talking about Year Walk, which is like a semi-horror puzzle thing game. But
it's like an atmospheric, sort of adventure-y, sort of puzzly, sort of...
Adventure game is probably more the thing I want to put it into.
It straddles the line, though,
between
a few different things.
But it's a very neat game, and we'll get more into that next time. Until then... Oh, I forgot to like laugh menacingly and tell everyone it was because it was Halloween.
Hot fuck.
Hot fuck, it's Halloween. But until Halloween, and by that I mean the month of October, you can get a hold of us All of our contact information is on our website, noclippodcast.com, or on splattershot.pro. There you can find all of our old episodes, our email, our Twitter, all the ways that you can talk to us or listen to our cool content. Our YouTube, I've actually put a link to a playlist on our homepage now that just will display the latest episode, so that's a cool thing. I think that's all we got this week.
Yep.
Use a non-Euclidean shape to press the subscribe button.
Rotate your perspective to create a bridge to the comment section. I don't know. I forgot if you said subscribe button or like button.
I don't remember.
But whatever you do, when you get to it, make sure you smash it.
Yeah, smash whatever you find there. I'm going to talk into this microphone for a little bit, and Andy, what do you think about talking into microphones?
I'm going to talk in the microphone.
I'm going to talk into this microphone.
I'm going to talk in the microphone.
I'm going to talk into this microphone. I'm going to talk into this microphone. Microphone.
I'm going to talk into this microphone.
Andy, what do you think about talking into microphones?